Hello, good evening, welcome.
There.
So, as people are arriving, we're going to give people like a few moments. And actually, one of the things Mina and I were recognizing, and since the two of you have made it here successfully, I just wanted to see if anybody wants to share what their experience was, because what we realized was that there was an email sent with perhaps a wrong link and then an email with an updated link. So just wondering how that, when you came in through Eventbrite, how that was for you.
So I got an email from an Eventbrite. I clicked on join the event and then I had to log in to Eventbrite and then go to like my profile and find the tickets and go that way. So it was a lot of clicks.
Okay, so it was a little bit of a process to get there for some reason.
That's
Okay.
been my experience every time, though. I haven't ever had like a one click.
A one click and in. Well, that is good to know. Maybe we will see in the future if there's a way to do that. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Okay, so we're just going to give people a few minutes and um, we'll get started at like 7:35, somewhere right around there.
And in the meantime, maybe placing in the chat where you're chiming in from this evening. So Becca and I are actually both in Miami, Florida right now, although Miami is not our home base anymore, but it is where we where we met. But we're both here right now in Miami.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So good to see everyone's names, to see where you're coming in from. Welcome, everyone.
And then maybe sharing with us if you've had some body talk. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Deborah. And maybe sharing with us if you have had body talk before, or if this will be your first experience with body talk or learning about body talk this evening in the chat. So Kate tuning in from Richmond, Virginia. Deborah's first time with body talk.
Great question. And it sparks me to check in and ask if people are familiar with essential oils, if you've used essential oils before, if this is maybe a first exposure to learning about them. Lots of good stuff.
So Deborah has a book titled Body Talk. I wonder if it's from the same founder of the Body Talk system, Dr. John Beltime, or not, or if it's a different modality of body talk.
Good question.
I've had some body talk sessions before and also use essential oils often. My most recent work move is that I got my own office, so now I can diffuse oils and everybody loves it. I have like a little nook where there's a lot of folks who all have offices off this common area, and people will walk in and they're like, oh, it smells so good today. And so it's a lot of fun raising the mood across the office.
Amazing. That vibrational resonance. It's like I can just picture, the ripple effect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Mina, it looks like you wanted to say something. Am I reading that right? Or
Oh yeah, so definitely just that essential oils are contagious, right? And like you said, it's like raising the vibration, raising the mood, uplifting people all around, and planting those seeds, like really planting those seeds for people to become more curious about like, hey, like what, what is this different way of maybe using fragrances in a way that is non-toxic and a way that is also more beneficial to us at all levels of our body mind, right? So planting those seeds and seeds of consciousness that we're going to be talking about and mentioning a lot of tonight. First time, and you have a book titled Body Talk, and John Beltime is the author. Awesome.
cool. Cool. Good. So I thank you for reading those comments. Just so you know, right now, the way I've got my screen set up, I can't see them. I don't know where they are. So Mina, if a question or something comes in or something, if you would feel free to share that. And then when we shift, when we switch things over, I'll be taking the slides down. And so anyways, then I'll be able to see all of that a little bit better and a little bit more. So yeah, so welcome. Welcome, Carly. If you, as you're tuning in, if you just want to put your name in the chat and where you're coming in from. And we may have more people joining us as we go, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of officially get started. So welcome. Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope that everyone's January has been starting with, a sense of ease or a fullness that feels good in your body, minds, and yeah, just really excited to be here with you on this January 19th, Thursday evening. And tonight we're going to be talking about nature as medicine. This is the first in a 3-part series that we're doing through Active Exchange. And this one tonight is all about empowering mental health with Body Talk and the activation, the way that we activate Body Talk, which is through tapping, and essential oils. So we're going to be covering these things. And when I say we, I mean myself. My name is Becca Marshall. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an integrative psychotherapist and certified Body Talk practitioner. And I'm the founder of Active Exchange. We specialize in offering natural solutions to help people in their holistic well-being with a specialization in mental health. And really finding that active exchange. Everything that we do, we function in this reciprocity and flow. And tonight I am honored to have with me Maina Campos, who has been a friend, a colleague, and a teacher of mine. Maina, thank you so much for being here.
I am so honored to be here, and I love Active Exchange, and I love Becca's work, and I love when we collaborate because there's so much richness that both of us have to bring to the table and to share. And normally we are having these conversations together on our own, and so it's so nice to be able to also share, educate, and empower our community and beyond, because that's our passion. We love to really share the wisdom that we've been so privileged and blessed to come across and learn and know with everyone that we meet and all the people in our energy field. And so, yeah, so I'm a wellness alchemist, mentor, teacher, yoga teacher, bodywork therapist, essential oils educator, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. I've been excited to do this recording with Becca this whole week, just to be able to share more of what we're all about and what we love to do and how we love to empower people. So I'm glad that everyone that's on here or tuning into a recording, I'm glad that you guys are here this evening with us, or whatever time you're listening to the recording. I'm glad that you're here. And with energy, it doesn't matter when we are listening to the recordings and of course, when we're present, right? So either we're present this evening or when we're listening to a recording, energy is not bound by time or space. So you will be feeling the effects of this body talk that we're going to be doing tonight. If you start implementing some of the nature as medicine tips and habits and different biohacking lifestyle changes, then it's going to reverberate in different areas of your life, despite time and space, right? So it's going to happen because we're here tonight and you're showing up and you're listening to the recording and you're present.
Yeah. Beautiful. So true. And so important because you're bringing in and sharing concepts that are not so common and yet are so palpable and important and real. And so as you can tell already, thank you, Maina, for sharing that. And that Maina is really an advocate for educating and for guiding the community, for offering healing in so many ways. I know it's touched my life in a number of ways. So I would say that, Maina, as a wellness alchemist and mentor, is really an expert in guiding the community with resources and education. And it's all about kind of keeping it simple and allowing tools that we can take. And this is where empowerment comes in. So yeah, really excited. And the proceeds, so tonight is a donation only event, and thank you to those who did choose to donate. The proceeds for those donations are going to be offered to the International Body Talk Foundation. And what they do is they specialize in research around body talk to help spread the word and continue really finding that supportive evidence for the impacts, the incredible impacts of this particular energy medicine that has in so many ways impacted and affected my life. And so just really excited to be giving back here. So just jumping in, we are recording. I probably told you that when you popped in. So just keep that in mind. We want to hear from you, whether it's through the chat, we may open some opportunities for you to share. This is meant to be interactive. And so please know that. And also just know that we are recording. And so that means that anybody who has registered will be receiving this, and different pieces could be resourced and other things. So just keep that in mind as you're sharing and tune in with yourself and with your comfort level, and know that everything is welcome. So yeah, so there's that piece. And this is just a little overview of with the recording, and we've mentioned this a couple times, but everybody who registered, including all of you who are here, are going to receive the recording in an email. So that may be coming tomorrow or Saturday, but in the next couple days, you will receive this link. So if that means you are normally someone who takes notes and writes everything down, and you just want to be here to open and receive, I invite you to do so. And to kind of play with that a little bit, because you can go back to it. I'm going to be sharing through an embodied discussion a little bit more about body talk, tapping, what it means to become empowered around mental health, and then teaching some experiential practice. Maina is also going to be sharing more about essential oils and talking about, experiential engagement with those as we move through. And then together, collaboratively, she and I are going to tune in as body talk practitioners and offer an energy medicine activation to everybody who's plugged in here this evening and through the recording, whenever it is that you may be listening. And then we're going to open it up for questions, reflections. So just so you know, and you have an idea, we are scheduled to end at about 9:15 this evening. That's Eastern time, depending on where you're tuning in from. And yeah, just so you have a little idea around that. So I'm going to invite everyone to just take a moment here. It is Thursday evening on the East Coast of the United States, and wherever you are and whatever you've moved through today, or whenever it is that you're receiving this recording, I'm going to invite you, if it feels comfortable, to just take a moment and invite the eyes to close. And if for some reason you can't, if you're driving, if you're tending to a child, if there's something else going on and you're listening, in your own way, perhaps see if there's a way that you can just for a moment invite the energy in. Maybe you lower the gaze, maybe you take a breath. And I'm going to actually invite all of us to take a few full breaths in together. So feeling the buttocks on the chair, feeling the feet on the ground, feeling your body here in this moment, in this time, in this space. And on this next breath, gently inviting a full breath in, lengthening the in-breath, and allowing a smooth, gentle exhale. Beginning to feel the sensations in the body. We're going to do this a few times. Full breath in, opening to receive. Perhaps opening the mouth on the exhale, feeling the shoulders dropping back and down a little bit, feeling the whole of the energy, inviting the body to ground. One more full breath, receiving. Exhaling and releasing. And in whatever way, just inviting the whole self a little bit more here. Taking a moment to feel into the temperature of the space around you. Noticing the movement of the breath, the body in this time and space. And even whatever's happening in the thinking mind, everything is welcome. And together we'll take one more full breath, inviting the energies of the day to arrive right here and now. And a gentle exhale, releasing. Good. And on this next breath, as you breathe in, if the eyes are closed, perhaps inviting them to open. And as we move into this material today, one of the things that I wanted to begin with is just sharing a little bit about my journey around empowerment. And what is empowerment, right? So when we become empowered, we gain the authority or the power to do something. And that's what it's about, to be able to do something, to feel like we're equipped in ourself, with our resources. And tonight, with BodyTalk and essential oils and the way that these can be utilized collaboratively in our lives, we're focusing in on how these resources, methods, modalities can help us to become empowered specifically around our mental health. And it's not only around our mental health, but tonight that is our specific focus. And becoming empowered in health really started to show up for me in about 2007. And I'm just going to give a sort of a brief overview. But what I learned in 2007, this was the year that I had one of those books jumping off the shelf experiences. And you can see on the slide, Arriving at Your Own Door. That was the name of the book by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And what occurred was that I started to become aware. I was becoming aware. This woke me up that my body had been sending me signals, and I did not know that my body was sending me signals. I was misreading them, and actually, I don't even know if I knew that they could be read at that time. And what I learned was that I could step into the driver's seat and begin to listen by tuning into the present moment. That and my access, learning about access to the present moment was one of the things that started to shift me into my recognition that there was something I could do. There was some authority that I had in my life for the symptoms really that were showing up for me. Moving down the line in 2012, I had an experience where I was having these immense headaches, like almost like kind of migraine blackout headaches out of nowhere. And I was on a weekend girls trip with a friend, and one of my friends said, Becca, I do this thing. If you'd be open to it, it might help your headaches. It might help the headache that you're having. And so I said, sure, like nothing could make it worse at this point, and I couldn't show up to my friends. So I laid on the couch, and my friend, who happened to be certified in cranial sacral therapy, I didn't really know what they were doing at the time. And I think that they were integrating, but basically they offered me some of this energy medicine for a very brief period of time. And it alleviated the headaches. About, days went on, weeks went on, months went on. And what I recognized was that not only did it alleviate the headaches that weekend and that day, but it ended up eliminating just a few moments of some energy medicine, very subtle. She barely even touched my body, eliminated over a decade of pain that had been hanging out in my upper back, right? That between the shoulder blades area where I had gathered so much of my stress had been eliminated and removed. And when I started to realize this, it took a little bit of time. I was tearful. I was crying in gratitude and appreciation and awe for what happened. And I reached out and I said, I expressed my gratitude and I said, what did you do? I'm having this pain in my knee. Could you help me? Truly, this is a true story. And she said, you know what, I'm going out of town, but here is a recommendation for an acupuncturist. And I ended up going to an acupuncturist who was a BodyTalk practitioner. And this BodyTalk practitioner started to integrate that into our sessions. And finally, one day I was like, what are we doing? Because it's changing my life. And he said, my innate wisdom is having a conversation with your innate wisdom. And we're identifying what is needed, what the priorities of health are for your body mind. And we're activating that. And in that instant, I knew I need to learn this. This is incredible. And that led me in 2014 to Mina's class, where I took BodyTalk Access, and I learned the cortices technique, which is a technique that you all are going to be learning this evening. And I also learned 4 other techniques that Maina may share a little bit more about tonight, but she is a BodyTalk Access teacher. And that is the first time I met her, was in her Access class, learning health empowerment tools. Okay, from there, 2015, and I had to add this tonight because I was in Thailand, actually just came back from Thailand like 5 days ago or something, again. And 2015 was my first trip to Thailand, and I was there. And this might be a little too TMI, right? But I started having breakouts from my deodorant. I was getting sores under my arms, and here I am in Thailand having this situation. It is hot. I can no longer wear deodorant. What is going on? And one of the women that was traveling with me had essential oils. I don't even believe that I had been exposed to essential oils before 2015, maybe. But what she did was she gave me lavender essential oil. She said, I think this is really good for the skin. And for the rest of my time, or in Thailand, definitely a week. I'm trying to think, but either way, that's what I could use under my arms on the essentially the like lesions that had opened from this bad reaction that I was having. And it changed my experience. It brought ease, another health empowerment tool. And that just fast forwarded me, I knew in my gut, I need to learn this more. And in 2015, I took my first fundamentals class. Lo and behold, it carries on. And here I am, a certified practitioner for a number of years. So my health empowerment journey into becoming empowered around mental health and why. So many of you that are here or watching this recording, you may know that I'm a licensed mental health counselor, right? And so here, another passion of mine coming together, being empowered around our health, me experiencing that in my own life. And why do we want to bring this in tonight around mental health, right? So it's true that there are multiple aspects of us that make up our holistic well-being, and they are all important, every single one of them. And over our history as human beings, mental health, what are we thinking? What are our emotions? So our emotional health falls under this. In this little diagram I have here, we could call it like the psychological health that kind of falls under. But it has typically been marginalized. And a big reason that that has happened, right? It's kind of like, oh yeah, we're not talking about that. Like what's in the closet, the elephant in the room, right? Is because it can't be seen with the naked eye. Sure, sometimes, when I'm angry enough, you might be able to read that on my face, but there's so much of our mental, emotional, psychological health that happens, it's in our internal environment. It can't be seen. This creates misconceptions. This has created stigma. And oftentimes it leads to people suffering in silence, because where do we talk about it? What do we do? And how do we know? Right. And I had this insight recently around even the internalized stigma within the field. One of the first psychology classes that most psych majors take, like a 101 type of course, it is titled Abnormal Psychology. Symptoms that would describe what we could call today depression or anxiety or stress are learned about within the field in one of our very first foundational courses titled Abnormal Psychology. I get emotional just saying this. This is like, I had this big insight on my recent retreat. I've been thinking about the stigma and the internalized stigma that, we often will say, oh, May is Mental Health Month, right? And all the professionals, including myself, come out and say, let's stop the stigma. How do we do this? And to see where it has been ingrained, just very eye-opening. There's another piece about this, right? Because what happened, and one of the things that has also contributed to the stigma, is that back in the day, people didn't know what to do. And our egos become incredibly challenged when we don't know what to do. And this can start to create cycles of blame. If something is showing up in my life and I don't know what to do, some of my very natural defense mechanisms can come in and they can start to resist and try to protect me from that by saying, it must be your fault, or it must be this, right? And so this happened around mental health. Some of the health practitioners, doctors, nurses, other people didn't know. The studies weren't around. People hadn't really looked at mental health, and so they didn't know what to do. And so it became a very separate thing. Let's push this over here. Let's get this out of the house. We don't know how to advise you. And this started to, or definitely contributed to, the stigma. So here are just a couple tips, just a couple statistics. 1 in 5 Americans, this is 2022, live with a mental condition. This means, it's like either you or someone that you know, right? 1 in 5, that's really close. 1 in every 20 Americans is living with a serious mental health condition. And 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins at a very early age. Okay, so these are just a few statistics around the importance of learning about, of truly breaking the stigma. And this is at a system level. How do we think about the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, right? How do we perceive that this is if I'm experiencing sadness, do I see it as a problem that needs to be solved? Is it something that is abnormal? Or is it something that is a normal part of the range of human experience? Perhaps when experienced to excess is an illness. Just like if I'm coughing too much, maybe I have bronchitis, or if I have a fever maybe I have the flu, right? But a little bit of a cough is just something that we normally experience. Sometimes we cough. So, can we start to view this as a normal experience that to an excess or in depletion is not where we want it to be? We need to come back into balance, yet is a very normal part of our human experience. Even this, cultivating these shifts in perspective, is an empowerment tool. The range of our human experience is our human nature. Even in the forest, right? The decay is nourishment. The fallen leaves become nourishment for the soil. And even in our lives, and again, this is a broad statement, so we could get more specific about certain things, but even in our lives, some of our greatest challenges can be deeply nourishing. It is so important to keep in mind that our energy, by the truth of its nature, is always seeking health. Our sense doors, right? So if our 5 senses, this has to do with how we take in the world, how we receive and process our life experience. It teaches us and impacts how we react or respond, how we communicate with others. And the information coming in through our senses help us to keep the body safe, right? The signals come in through the eyes to see, through the nose to smell, through the mouth to taste, etc. And they come in through the body and they're translated, signals sent to the nervous system so that they can be used to keep us healthy and to keep us safe. I'm going to tie all this together, or Maina and I are going to tie all this together. So I'm just touching in on some things here. So we've got the 5 senses and we've got the 3 brains. So we have, in truth, what happens is signals that we're experiencing in our life come in through the heart door, right? This is where we discern, we store the information coming in. Then they move down into the gut, the enteric brain, the abdomen, where we process and digest some of the information coming in. And this moves up into the head brain, where we're receiving and the brain is directing what we do. This trail, right? The way that information is actually best to travel through our body mind is not very well known, and it puts a whole lot of pressure on this incredible processing system, our head brain. And part of what we're going to do, and part of what we do in BodyTalk, is we start to bring in balance and open up the natural channels of communication through this 3 brain system, which is actually all one, but is very easy to kind of break down and understand when we think about it separately. So the 5 senses, I'm seeing the screen in front of me with each and every one of you. That's actually coming in through my heart, traveling down into my gut, coming up into my brain and directing what I'm saying, how I'm showing up, how I'm responding. And what is also happening is that this is sending signals into and through my nervous system. And just a very brief overview that once this comes in to the nervous system, there are a couple of different modes. And one is called the parasympathetic, and one is the sympathetic mode. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is a stress response, right? Or it gets activated in stress response, fight, flight, freeze. I'm seeing the screen. Oh my goodness, do I need to be in stress response? Oh my gosh, people are staring at me. I'm supposed to be presenting. What's going on, right? Heart starts beating, hands start sweating. Or do I see this, receive the information, and my parasympathetic kicks in? I ground into my seat. I feel my breath. I slow my heart rate. I start to move with clarity through the information that I feel I can share with each and every one of you tonight. This happens all day long with even the most minute signals coming into the body through our senses. And what we do with all of this, right? How we are perceiving it, these natural instincts and responses, do we shift into the parasympathetic or the sympathetic? Are those in balance? Is one in overdrive, right? Are we resting too much? Are we too activated? What's here? This is a tool that what we're going to talk about in the cortices technique and BodyTalk and essential oils help us to bring into balance so that we can build our tolerance for staying in alignment regardless of what is coming at us. We can respond even when our system might be kicked up. We can recognize that, we can reset it, and we can care for ourselves. So really quickly, I just wanted to mention that epigenetics, like one of the things that is so cool about all of this and everything that we're going to be sharing and are sharing tonight is that we have the power in making these changes, like in our perception and in the tools and resources that are available, and knowing that there are things we can do, that we can start to shift what's going on in our environment internally and externally. And this can have real profound shifts in what shows up in our DNA, and therefore what we experience in our health. Epigenetics is the study of this, the study of how our environment can change and can show real lasting changes down to the DNA at the cellular level. Here are a couple of pictures of John Veltheim, the founder of BodyTalk, offering some BodyTalk to both myself and to Maina through a course that we were able to do together live. I think it was The 3 Brains and the Soul's Journey. I think that was this course that we were in with John. BodyTalk is an energy medicine system. It offers a path for addressing our whole health, mental health included, physical health, spiritual health. It allows our body's system to be resynchronized so that it can operate as nature intended, using the interconnectedness, because we all experience stressors that can block or bring in miscommunication in the system. And BodyTalk helps us come back to the natural functioning, back to the balance and communication. And one of the ways that we do this is we activate this through tapping. We're all going to do some tapping in just a moment. We're going to do this with our hands, right? Tapping is a practice that is common in energy medicine. The use of hands, light touch on the body, off the body, tapping. It's actually an ancient healing technique, and it works with the energy field of the body. Each and every one of us, I just want to show this picture briefly of our biofield. So right now, we're not just our physical body, but we also have this biofield that can't be seen, that is like the ripple effects of the essential oils and the diffuser, like you were talking about earlier, Kate. This happens within, like, what is the coherence of my system? Am I calibrated? Am I not? Am I in sympathetic, rest in repair mode, or am I in parasympathetic, fight, flight, freeze? This ripples from my system and can be felt, and it can also be impacted. And you can see here how these fields also come together. This is just, this is a photo of me from 2018 through something called a biofield viewer, which is a tool where you can read this energy. And this was me before having a brief energy medicine intervention. This is my field through the biofield viewer after, having just a few moments of some gentle acupressure and tapping. So you can literally see the difference. We can't see it with our naked eye. I'm going to share all of these, but I'm going to share them a little bit after, because what I want to do is I want to talk and I want to teach the BodyTalk cortices technique before kind of handing everything over to Maina to speak more about essential oils and how this affects. So BodyTalk, the BodyTalk cortices technique is a powerful technique that I was first taught by Maina. I think she's an expert teacher of this technique. And it does so many incredible things in the body, mind. It improves communication and circulation in the brain, between the three brains that I mentioned before. It starts to promote relaxation and ease. So many positive beneficial effects. I'm also going to share all of this. You know, you'll get this in the recording and also in the email of sort of like the why and the what are we doing here. But I think what's most important right now is that we move into the how, because we can get, I could go into the words all day long. But what do we do and how do we do this? So right now, I'm going to invite everyone that is here, everyone that is tuning in live or in the recording, to just play along and do this with. We need 3 tools. You can do this at any time. And you can even, I just want to say this for anyone who may be holding a baby or driving, you can even do this hands-free, although tonight we are going to use the tapping of our hands. You can do it hands-free by doing it in the mind's eye. So I just want to plant that seed. Kind of visualizing is also really powerful. But tonight we're going to use the tools of focusing, of breathing, and of tapping. And all we need are our 2 hands. So I'm going to invite you to take a breath, full breath in. Again, grounding in, feeling into the release of the body, and taking one hand, it doesn't matter which one, and you're going to bring it all the way to the back of the head. You can see my thumb is sort of right in the nape of the neck, and my fingers are together. And the other hand, we're going to take and we're going to bring it up to the top of the head. So we're going to tap all around the top of the brain, head brain here, and breathing. And then gently bringing that tapping hand down and tapping over the heart space. So here we're going to move all around the chest. All of this is the heart space over the heart brain. And then gently tapping over the abdomen. Breathing. And we're going to bring that hand again over the top of the head, and just like a waterfall, tapping over the head, tapping over the heart, and tapping over the abdomen. And then we're gently going to take that hand, that standing hand, and we're going to move it up 1 hand position. And we're going to allow it to rest there. And we're going to again bring in this tapping and inviting a full breath. And waterfall tapping down over the heart space and over the abdomen. So we do about 2 rounds with each hand position. Again, tapping over the head, tapping over the heart, tapping over the abdomen. We're going to bring that hand up, another hand position. So just from the thumb to the pinky. And we're going to again bring in this tapping over the head brain. And here we're just sort of sending that signal. Wake up, brain, pay attention to what's happening right here and now. We're tapping over the heart space, the heart brain, saying, please store this information and communicate this through the whole body mind. And then we're tapping over the abdomen, the enteric brain, the gut brain, inviting this digestion, processing, breathing. One more round of tapping with this hand position. Yeah.
And sometimes yawning will be a sign of like a little bit of shifting as you're activating and tapping. And just one more thing I love to always remind is that this hand that's on the actual brain is serving as a connector between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So it's also really helping to bring better communication between the 2 halves of the brain, the right brain, the left brain, and really like feeling into that.
Absolutely. That communication between those 2 hemispheres. And moving that hand up to that last position, not really the last position, but second to last. Right over that prefrontal cortex, breathing. And just like Maina said, allowing whatever moves through. Maybe it's a yawn. Noticing that standing hand as that focusing tool, inviting the increased circulation, connection and collaboration between the hemispheres of the brain. And once we finish here, we're going to take both hands and we're going to bring them to the sides of our head. So we're getting the temporal lobes, and I'm just kind of turning so you can see where the hands are. And here, just imagining the energy from the right hand going through the brain and connecting over into the left, and the left moving through and connecting to the right, and they sort of form a bridge here. Breathing, and we're also doing not only the sides of the brain, the temporal lobes, but we're also focusing in on the limbic system, our emotional processing center, taking a deep breath. And then here you can remove both hands and just gently tapping. We sort of imagine, keeping in the mind's eye, that we have those hands still on the sides of our head. And just bringing in that waterfall, tapping, inviting all of these energies to sink in, feeling into the groundedness of the body here. So just going back for a moment, right? This is when we utilize the cortices technique, it's a way of tuning us into the present moment, of saying, what's going on here and now? And inviting our nervous system to show up to the present moment, inviting it to be in the truth of what's here, our perceptions, and bringing balance into that. What's here, right here and now, giving us options. Right. And this is, people who I have worked with, this is something that I share with everyone, friends, family, clients. And the reason is, right, the reason is because this is so foundational. It's like someone once told me, and maybe it was even you, Mina, that the stressors in our life, it's like blowing fuses, right, in our central processing center. And in our house, right, if a fuse is blown, we're trying to blow dry our hair and we just keep going to these different plugs to try to plug it in. It's not working, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. I don't know what to do, right? But what we find is it's just a simple flick of the fuse. Once the fuse is reset, we can see with clarity. We've got the electricity coming through. All of the signals are now sending in the right direction, and we can blow dry our hair. And that's just, a way to think about this. That's something very simple in a way, our hair dryer, but this is how it works through our whole body mind system, bringing us a bit more online, giving us that clarity. And so so I am going to hand it over, Mina, and I'm going to end this little slideshow here. And so I think as I turn it over to you, I'll just kind of go from there if there's anything else you want to share about that, or as you bring in more about essential oils.
That was beautiful. And I love the imagery about the circuit breaker and how our bodies, right? Because our bodies are made of energy, essentially, right? And so I love to go down to like the minutest particles of energy, which when we talk about, we can all agree that cells are made of neutrons, protons, electrons, right? And then when you break it down even further, all that's there is energy, right? And so energy creates neutrons, protons, electrons, that create cells, that create tissues, that create organs, that create bodies, that create us. And we have a consciousness that is our animating force. But when we break us down to our minutest, smallest level, we are energy beings, right? And Becca, can you go back a little bit to the one slide that you skipped over? But I think that, I mean, I would love to talk about it because it's where energy is the currency of life. It's a little bit further back.
Was it this one?
Yep. So yeah, so in every culture and in every medical tradition before ours, healing was accomplished by moving energy. And what we just did right now was we moved energy. We moved energy through the tapping process, right? And so what the tapping's doing is it's helping to disrupt our current energy field and inviting a new possibility for healing and change to happen. So that was a beautiful presentation on the BodyTalk, on the cortices technique. And the cortices technique is a tool that I use daily for myself, for my family, for anyone that I'm working with. I do it every night before I go to sleep now, and also on my 2-year-old before he goes to sleep. And it immediately like calms him down and helps him to just, it's kind of like turning down the dial, right? Helps us to turn down the dial and helps us to invite that sympathetic process to really be there for us, to kind of reset and rebalance and recalibrate. So with the cortices technique, the last thing I'll say about it is that there's a cumulative effect to it. So the more you do it, not only do you do it a little bit faster than we did it tonight, right? So because we were learning the technique, but the more that you apply it on yourself, on others, the more benefits and more shifts you're going to get over time. So I invite you to maybe do a cortices challenge and do it every day for the next month and see what you notice shifting in your life and in your clarity and in your body, and just by using the cortices technique. So beautiful and helpful. So never underestimate the power of this technique, because it's by far the most powerful body talk technique that we're taught and given. And the creator of Body Talk, Dr. John Beltime, always used to remind us that it's the desert island technique. Like if you're stranded on a desert island, the technique you want to know and remember is this one right here. And if you forget it, there's so many YouTube videos that you can go to and listen to. And I even like to listen to YouTube videos on the cortices technique sometimes to refresh and remind myself, because there's always different layers of there's different layers, and there's always different perceptions and perspectives that different teachers teach and can share and bring wisdom to us. So yeah, the cortices is definitely my favorite. And also moving into essential oils. So I have been practicing Body Talk longer than I have been working with oils. But the reason why I started working with essential oils is because they give me the power to also empower others in a different way by bringing the wisdom of plant medicine and nature back into our hands. Because I feel that in modern day living, we have gotten very disconnected from being in nature. And so I know myself, like I'm living in a building, right? And so a high-rise building. And so it's very rare that when I come downstairs, and unless I'm going to the ocean, I'm on my bare feet and reconnecting to, the magnetic energy poles of the earth. And, I feel that, nowadays we're not foraging to find foods like we're going to the supermarket. So it's, we're having this modern day experience, and nature is so important because we are made of natural elements, right? So all of the natural elements, all of our energies. And so when I work with essential oils, I feel a really deep and long lasting shift. And so the easiest way for me is working with essential oils, because our strongest sense that we have, right? Becca was guiding us into this beautiful presentation talking about our senses, and that's how we experience life as humans. And our strongest sense is the sense of smell. And so when we smell essential oils, if they are of the purest and non-toxic kind, they're medicinal grade essential oils, what is happening is we're getting therapeutic benefits, because it's going directly into our hypothalamus, directly into activating and helping us to recircuit different circuitry within our body minds, and reminding us and tapping into and tuning into different levels of not only our physical sense of smell, but our mental and emotional and even spiritual processes in our life. So essential oils, when I started working with them, they started to completely blow my mind of how powerful they were when I started integrating them with Body Talk. And then at first it was just like, oh, just lavender, right? Working with lavender because I want to help people get into their parasympathetic, because I know the power of getting into the parasympathetic, which is rest and relaxation. And that's when the neutrality and the miracles of healing can happen, is when we're relaxed, right? And so I started my journey with lavender as well. And then from there, just started really getting into all of the different oils and learning and reading about them, and then experimenting with them on myself first, as I always do, right? So first I needed to experiment Body Talk on me before I learned it and shared it with others. And the same thing with the essential oils. I started using them and learning about them aromatically, topically, and with the doTERRA brand that I love to use and I work with, also I'm able to ingest them, cook with them, and just use them topically on my skin and know that it's safe, because anything that we are breathing, anything that we're placing on our skin is going straight into our bloodstream. So keeping that in mind, that whatever you're diffusing in your home, if it's not of the highest, most non-toxic and purest vibration, our skin is our largest breathing organ. So anything that you're breathing in is still going into your body system. And so, I'm a huge advocate for really integrating non-toxic or low toxic lifestyle as a way for us to help with our vitality and our longevity. And those things are really important, because like everyone wants to live longer, right? So the fountain of youth, and everyone also wants to have vitality. I mean, you want to live longer, but you want to live longer with vitality. And even if you're not thinking anti-aging or longevity yet, right? That happens only like in your mid-30s, but you're right. So even if you're not thinking about that yet, vitality is important, and having energy and having clarity, and using the essential oils for emotional stability. And so there's so many ways that I love to, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. How would you describe vitality if you were to kind of like give that a little bit of a definition?
Mhm. Yeah. So I
I'm
would
not
say,
trying to put you on the spot. I'm just kind of like,
oh no, bring it. Put me on the spot. Let's ask all the questions. This is a place for conversation and discussions, and I'm all about it. So I would say that vitality is living in our most optimal health and well-being. And it's not only wellness, because it's well-being, because it's living optimally from a place of having that optimal balance and maximizing our ability to feel good in our bodies. Our bodies are meant and designed to feel good. And when we don't, we forget and we think there's something abnormal or wrong with us. But it's because our body is talking to us. But are we listening? And are we doing the habits, the biohacking, the lifestyle, right? So nowadays we come into contact with so many chemicals. It's everywhere. It's in our makeup, it's in our laundry detergent, it's in our hand soap, and there's like sneaky ways that it's in our food. And like now, like the different companies in the industry, and I just get like completely upset about it, because they find sneaky ways to like make it okay. Like they use natural flavors and colors, and it's like, oh gosh, anytime you see that, run for the hills, like stay away from anything. There's this app that I am in love with. I think I shared it with you, Becca. It's called Yuka. And now every time I go to Whole Foods, I am like scanning everything, and it gives you a breakdown of what ingredients are in skin products, lotions, food, beverages. And so you can see, and it either gets like a green light or a red light, and it gives you also a scale from 1 to 100. And it's based on like, is it high tox or low tox? And, one of the biggest chemicals that we come in contact with are things that have fragrance, candles, and when you walk into hotel diffusers, but not like these kinds of diffusers, but the diffusers with like the sticks, right? And so, and also like in our laundry, the worst is a laundry detergent. I always get Free and Clear. I would never use the fabric sheet softeners. I haven't used or any of that stuff, or the drying sheets, like haven't used that stuff in 20 years. Like all of that stuff is very toxic, and it's hormonally disrupting our nature and our body minds and our health. And when we breathe something in, we're not only activating, this our odor center in our brain, but we're also helping to recalibrate or disrupt, depending on if it's good or bad, right? All of our hormonal endocrine system. So there's definitely a correlation there, right? Because mental health and also physical health and emotional health, they're all interlinked and tied together because we're not compartmentalized beings. It's our well-being when we talk about our vitality.
Yeah.
So it's
Powerful.
Super important. And, specifically when talking about mental health, there's some top 3 oils that I love to work with for mental health. And even this week in sessions that I've had, this one's just the freshest because this was just yesterday afternoon. I was working with, she's a mom. She's got 2 kids. She's in her late 30s and freaking out. And she's like, I think I'm going to go on Zoloft. And I'm always like, oh no, I hope not, because yes, and she said, oh, I just think I need the crutch. And it's like, it's a crutch in one way, but you're going to get side effects in so many other ways that are going to outweigh it. And she was just having a little crisis mode moment. But then I started doing, in her BodyTalk session, it was the forgiveness symphony of the cells essential oil technique that she needed. And it was forgiveness around her needing to really be able to have more confidence in herself. And I mean, we went through a whole journey. It was like an hour-long session, right? So I'm just giving you guys like little tidbits of it. But at the end of the session, right, doing the essential oils, having her breathe it in, guiding her through different exercises and practices with the cortices and with the oils together. The end of the session, she, I said to her, of course, you can decide to go on medication or not. My personal, as your BodyTalk practitioner view, is that you don't need it. There are some people that need it, but she didn't. She was just having a crisis moment and she didn't know how to work herself out of it. But the essential oils and the aroma and the forgiveness that all of the 10 oils that I use was activating in her, along with the BodyTalk, helped her to feel more empowered. And by the end of the session, she said, oh my gosh, she said, I've been going to, my therapist probably for as long as I've known you, Maina, but she's like, she said, in this one session today, I've gotten like 10 years worth of talking to my therapist, my talk therapist. Yeah. And she was just so grateful, because there was an active exchange where she was talking and we were working and doing and visualizations and guidance and just bringing her back to the nature of her nature, and also giving her, I did leave her with some essential oils, and also helping people to remember that there are other ways, right? And so the essential oils are they're just such allies of everything that we're doing. And, nature as medicine is just so beautiful because we are nature. And anything that we can use that can help us can become medicine. So movement as medicine, nature as medicine, right? All of these different empowering ways to learn to work with forming better habits that are going to help us with our vitality, with our wellness and well-being, all of the ways. And one of the easiest ways is for me is to carry around these little bottles. So I did say I'm going to come back. I kind of went all over the place, but coming back to my top 3 favorite oils that I love to use and I want to share with you guys tonight. So the one that I have diffusing is called Wild Orange. take it with me everywhere. I put it in my water, but it's very uplifting and it's very empowering because it brings such light and positivity. And it's the oil of playfulness and abundance. It's also an oil that smells like when you close your eyes and you smell fresh wild oranges, it just brings you back to like, you can't be upset, right? You just go to this place of happiness and this place of lightness and when I drink it internally, I know it's purging my body and clearing through any of the heaviness and the muck in my body system. And the essential oils that are citrus, right? So all of the citrus essential oils, wild orange, green mandarin, lime, lemon. I love all of them, but my favorite is wild orange, grapefruit. All of the citrus oils are natural antidepressants because nature has everything that we need, like everything that we need on earth. And from a Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic perspective, there isn't any illness in the world, right? There isn't any ailment or illness without a plant that is grown on planet Earth that is the antidote for our healing. And so nature is that it's so potent and powerful. Like when I think of it, I just can't even, like, it's just so beautiful to think that on planet Earth, it's just so perfect. We're made of nature. We're made of the same composition that nature, that flowers and plants are made of. We're not made of the same things that Zoloft is made out of, or like other medications, right? That other synthetic chemicals or fragrances are made out of. So that's why when we work with pure medicinal essential oils, your body responds to it in a beneficial way because it's made of the same bioavailability and ability for our cells to recognize it. So, that's what I love about working with nature as medicine. And also, BodyTalk also is working with nature as medicine because all we're doing, we're not bringing in anything external from ourselves other than shifting our perspective and, integrating another vibrational healing invitation for our bodies to shift and to heal in a different way through the tapping, right? So the tapping is disrupting our current energy field and bringing in that healing potential. Yeah, I love working with both of them. I could talk about essential oils all night, all weekend. But
it's so many things. I just want to say a couple of things before you share those last two and we bring in the energy medicine and hear from people, questions, comments. You mentioned, right, like smelling the wild orange, and I also love wild orange. It's incredible. I don't know if people here have smelled that particular oil. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But like you closed your eyes and you said, you smell it and you just smell the wild oranges. And then you were like, essentially you can't help but feel a shift and to feel that uplift or maybe even joy, and that's the word that came up for me when you were talking about it. And it reminded me how important it is for us to know and recognize that, like, when we're visualizing, when we're smelling, like you said, the scent is one of the most potent of our senses when it comes to the nervous system, and our body mind doesn't know the difference. So to smell that quite literally and receive that nature, it starts that domino effect within the body that is serving the body and bringing in that uplift as it, right, not only from the scent directly, but from the images that if we close our eyes when we're smelling it and picturing those oranges and seeing and feeling that, and the ripple effects that has through the body mind, just so powerful that we don't have to be in the field around those trees. We can visualize it and it have the same powerful healing effect on us. And then to have some of it literally right there in the bottle to diffuse or to smell, like you take the field with you. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the same thing, like you're talking about fields, and now I'm just like seeing a field of lavender. And that's the number 2 oil, which I highly recommend for mental health and health empowerment, is working with lavender, because the lavender is the Swiss Army knife of all the oils. So if,
Apparently it was our gateway oil,
the Swiss Army knife, like it's an oil that has so many beneficial effects, but also it is an oil that has been so studied. So there's a website called pubmed.gov, and if you type in lavender essential oil, you'll see all of the scientific studies on lavender essential oil. And most of it has to do with depression and also skin healing, and it's an antihistamine. And there's just so many different uses for working with the lavender for calming and relaxation. So I feel like that's our number 2 oil, because it's so powerful and potent. And I love to make lavender lemonade with my doTERRA oil. So lavender lemonade. I love to also, just put it in my water sometimes and just like drink it slowly, or you can drink it as tea. And yeah, that's definitely an oil that helps to reconnect the circuitry and help us to really go into the parasympathetic nervous system and just relax and just dial it down. And then the third oil is the frankincense. So frankincense is a resin, and mostly it's cultivated out of Somalia and Africa, especially the one from doTERRA. And it is so grounding, and it is the king of all oils. So also in this pubmed.gov website, when you type in frankincense, there are hundreds of science-based evidence of the power of using frankincense for depression and anxiety, right? And so when we talk about these abnormal feelings that actually everyone experiences, right, at different points in our lives, different times in our lives, that are just part of our normal human range of emotion and experiences, right? And it's just a matter of shifting, giving ourselves that permission to shift, right? And unlearn what has been told, but now just knowing, oh, this is normal, and I have an antidote, right? Like that, like this is what I can use. I can use my frankincense to like rub in the back of my brain stem to just help remind, my brain, my body, mind connection that I'm safe, I'm okay. I don't have to be anxious. I'm good, and helping with depression, put a drop underneath my tongue, diffuse it. It's the oil for truth and meditation. So it helps us to access higher levels of our consciousness. So it's just such a powerful, beautiful oil. And there's one more I have to share, which is the copaiba. So I'm going to give 4. So copaiba is the last one. And that one is one I'm always carrying in my purse now, because I'm actually going through a lot of transitional changes in my life right now. So to help me ground, the copaiba feels really, really good, and also helps with sleeping. and just like really calming. And it's the essential oil version of CBD without the cannabis stigma. So it does, and it's also a third of the price. So I really, it does the same, it affects the same endocannabinoid receptors in the body, but there's no cannabis to it. So that's, you know, something to that's interesting to know. And but it's a third of the price from CBD oils. And also the copaiba from doTERRA is just sourced in a very pure way. So a lot of, you know, cannabis products and CBD products, sometimes we don't know the sourcing of it. And so for me, purity and integrity and just like knowing where things are coming from is super important. And so, yeah, I love to use the copaiba oil, and it just really helps me to like sleep, relax, and just feel, you know, sometimes good in my body. I got into a car accident a few months ago. So sometimes when I had body pains, I didn't use painkillers. I used the copaiba. So it helped also with, you know, physical muscular tension stuff too.
So in a way, like almost even calming, not just the thoughts and the emotions, but also like perhaps inflammation in the body.
100%. Yeah. For inflammation, it's amazing. And then when you type in the copaiba on the pubmed.gov website, you'll see a lot of studies about copaiba for inflammation, for sleep, for all of these different things. So yeah, it's just amazing what these oils can do.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing these. I love, you know, hearing all of the details about these oils. I always learn more every time you talk, and I'm like, wow, I did not know that. And you know, I have heard of PubMed.gov. I don't know about other people on here, but I don't think I've ever gone there, and I haven't thought about going there around oils and to see the research on that. So I'm really excited to check that out. Such rich information. Thank you so much for sharing these with everybody.
I love it. You know,
Beautiful.
I love to have these discussions with you, and it's so nice that we can share with other people, because this is how Becca and I talk when we're hanging.
Exactly. So much fun. So much fun. And so this piece, you know, like knowing what to do. And I love, thank you so much for sharing about your recent work with your client, you know, coming in, feeling that lack of confidence. And I think this goes back to even some of what I was sharing around stigma, around mental health, and like, what do we do? And when we don't know, it's like you know, the talk about sympathetic, right? Like the fight, flight, freeze modes get activated, and we might blame, or we might reach for a remedy that isn't necessarily aligned with actually what we need, or so much of it is in knowing what to do, and part of that in knowing that it is okay not to know, that we can phone a friend, that we can reach out to a resource, whether it's a BodyTalk practitioner, a therapist, a coach, PubMed, you know, Google, we all have the Google these days. Sometimes that can increase anxiety. Sometimes it can decrease it. I definitely, you know, that's a tricky one. But to know that like, it's okay. You know, it's okay not to know. And like you were sharing, Mina, there is a remedy, and there's likely a remedy within nature. And I'm not trying to say like every single thing and the most severe things, like we need casts when we break our legs, and we need, you know, certain types of, you know, a variety of different resources for different things, but it is okay that we don't know all of that. And if we can start to bring in ease around that and lean in, like everyone here and everyone watching the recording is doing, leaning in on the community to be a learner, right? We can learn something new. And just like your client learned from you and was open to receiving, and this is empowering. This taps us into our empowerment, that we don't have to be the expert in everything, and that is not a problem. we can have questions. So anything, I didn't mean to, well, so let me just say, anything, Maina, that you wanted to share before we kind of move into the next step?
No, I mean, unless there's any questions, I feel like pretty complete with sharing, based on the time that we have tonight.
Yeah, I know we could go on and on for hours
Oh,
and days and weekends and weeks, so let's do this. If anybody has a question for Maina, go ahead and type it in the chat. And we're going to go ahead just for the sake of time. And so we get everybody out on time and to move into the energy medicine activation. And so what Maina and I are going to do is we're going to collaborate on that with everybody. And so again, everyone who has registered, your energies are here and open to receiving this piece. So I'm going to invite everybody to, if it's available to you, again, to take a full breath, to invite the eyes to close. And whether or not your eyes are able to close, just to feel your body in the here and now space, feeling into that groundedness. Maybe we can even imagine that we're taking a nice whiff of frankincense, as if it were flowing through the air, whether we've ever smelled it or not. Just inviting that to support us in grounding a little bit. We're going to bring in the essence of frankincense. Breathing and just tuning in. And what comes up is actually a part of a piece that I was just speaking to. Is part of the empowerment is having confidence in the not knowing and knowing that that's okay. So that's what shows up here as our first focus and agenda.
What I'm picking up is around permission. Giving ourselves permission to explore what nature as medicine means to us, and giving ourselves permission to really live from that place where we are feeling connected to our nature. So no matter what you've been told, no matter what others may think of you, you start carrying around little bottles of oils or tapping on your head, what it looks like, right? What you've been told about it, but giving yourself that permission, right? So everyone that is here tonight, that's listening to this recording, already inherently is seeking this connection, this reconnection, this remembrance to nature. And so you've been seeking this permission to return and to connect back to the nature of your nature. So we're just allowing for any resistance right now to fall away so that you can give yourself the permission to connect to nature, to explore, and to not know, right? Sometimes you're not going to know, like, oh, how do I take this oil? Or am I tapping the right way, right? But you'll get it. But you got to start. You got to start and you got to stay with it and be consistent with this journey.
Absolutely. And so as that is working through and falling away, what's coming up is we're going to actually balance in body chemistry. So I'm going to invite everybody, if you feel comfortable with this, we're going to take a little of our own body chemistry. So we're going to just take a little lick of saliva, perhaps on a finger, and you can just bring that right under the collarbone, right on the upper chest, and just get a little bit of that here. So it takes the outer body chemistry and allows our natural wisdom to tune in with that. And what is coming up is that we're balancing and sort of what shows up as like an allergic response in our body mind system to the emotion of fear around what will others think. And so it's sort of a fear that falls in the family of like a social anxiety, right? Like, what will others think when I try something new, if I stick up for myself, or if I speak my need around my health and wellness, my well-being. And so this balancing what's coming in as we're balancing through this allergic response in the body is allowing us greater access to our authenticity as we explore, as we learn. So just inviting a full breath. Exhaling. We're just kind of looping that back into that essence of the frankincense. And the word that comes up, and I think Maina, you shared this word, but is like the truth. Frankincense helping us to see and sort of gain those insights into the truth, which can be seen and accessed in the present moment. Feeling the whole body right here and now. Each exhale grounding in a little bit more.
I'm getting a pop-up of a parallel session that wants to be acknowledged, and it's happening in parallel, which is a lymphatic drainage, right? So we're talking about all these chemicals, and so everybody's bodies is like, I need this, I need to release the chemicals in my body. So we're going to do a lymphatic drainage. And so the lymphatic system is like the body's garbage disposal system, and working with all the lymph nodes and helping to bring some clearing and also cleansing to our body's system. And a second parallel session along with it is hydration, to bring in water and also a deeper sense of receiving and joy, right? So as we're clearing the muck, as we're clearing out not only anything that no longer serves us, any chemicals, heavy metal toxins, anything that's in your body that is not of your highest nature. We're going to invite your body mind to clear over the next 2 weeks. So a more gentle process than a full-on detox, but a 2-week clearing process, along with a gentle hydration to also help support and nourish, along with activating the process of receiving the session in a loving way in your life and also joyful.
And then the next piece that's coming in and that's here is a resource. And so there is a resource here that is actually coming from the rays of the sun. So we're working with the rays of the sun in the atmosphere, that vitamin D, that fresh, right? It's almost literally the same color as like the wild orange coming in to our skin, this largest organ of the body, coming in through the whole body. And just imagining it's like our whole being held by this incredible resource, the rays of the sun, the light of the sun. Just imagine as if you could breathe this into the body, mind system, into the lungs. And so that it's not only all around us and the outside or external environment, but these rays of the sun, this light energy comes in through the whole body, mind system, the internal environment, filling each and every cell of this body. Just allowing us to bask. Deep breath. Gentle exhale. Just going to begin tapping here. And so you can stay and simply receive. There's nothing you have to do, or you can join in and activate the tapping by just gently bringing your hands or a hand and tapping over the top of the head, tapping over the heart space. Just really feeling the breath in the body, tapping over the abdomen. And we'll do a couple rounds. So again, tapping over the head, heart, taking some deep breaths in the abdomen. Feeling into the groundedness of self here. And perhaps on this next in-breath, breathing in, and when it feels welcome for you, inviting the eyes to open if they've been closed. And so we just want to take this moment and turn it to everyone here. If there are any questions, any reflections, anything that's showing up for you from this energy medicine activation, or anything that's been shared this evening.
I feel that this ties back into a little bit of what both of you talked about today. But like Becca, when you were talking about your story of how you started allowing all of this work into your life, I've noticed for myself, if I get like a little nudge, I have, like I was saying earlier, a diffuser in my office, but if I like see it out of the corner of my eye, or like feeling like I need to reset, and it's like the intuition of something comes to me where I'm like, oh, I need like lemon or peppermint or something like that. And I notice that when I act on that little nudge and start diffusing or pull out my oils or do something that like acknowledges that nudge, it is reaffirming, and it'll show up like gently, continuously, in a way that just reaffirms the nudge. Like I'll notice that like I am more calm and more focused and more present when I'm able to integrate like the oils and listen to what my body's telling me.
So powerful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's like, as you talk, I see the feedback loop. In a way, it's like, oh, the intuition nudges, okay, oh, I could use some peppermint. And when you follow through with that, then you feel the result, and that is like, oh yeah, okay, good thing I followed through. So it's like reinforcing that by the relief or the experience that you receive, which increases the likelihood for you to follow that intuition next time. It's like you're building trust, or you've been building trust within your own internal GPS, where it's leading you, where it's guiding you, accessing your resources, and that is giving you these desirable results, which leads to more following.
Yeah. And then
Cute.
Maina, when you were talking about copaiba and the effects of it, I don't normally have muscle soreness unless it's from like working out. And the other day I just was like achy, not in quite a flu way, but kind of similar. And I was like, man, I wish I had some CBD oil, and I didn't. And I went online and started like researching a little bit. And I wish now I know that copaiba can have the same effects, and I have some of that with me. So I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, try it. I mean, even put some in your water tonight before you go to sleep, and you'll see you'll sleep a little bit deeper.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll give that a try.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Kate. This is awesome. And I love that you are honoring your intuition. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it's going to get.
You know, that actually reminds me of a question that I had for you, Maina, which is, I know you mentioned a few as you were talking, but what would you say are some of the common ways that people can use oils?
So some common ways that people use oils are in a diffuser, so aromatically, topically, if they're having any kind of physical body aches and pains. And then they can also use it internally, right? So instead of using like fragrances or also additive condiments, so like peppermint, right? Or just anything else that you want to add like flavors to, like the ginger oil I put in my curries. The basil oil, sometimes I'll put in my pasta, right? If I don't have the actual plants with me sometimes, whenever I'm sick, I make myself a flume, which is frankincense, lemon, oregano, on guard, and melaleuca. Make a little pill with a veggie cup, and I take it, and immediately, like, I just nip whatever I have, nip it right in the bud, and there's endless ways of how people can use the oils. But what I always tell people, so they don't feel overwhelmed, is just start with whatever it is that you're interested in, right? Like for yourself, like what are the symptoms that you're having? And, you can write to me or Becca, and we'll help you find the perfect oils for you to try out for any symptoms that you're having, so that you can start noticing results and relief. And then from there, it's like opening up a Pandora's box.
Huge. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. And so that reminds me, so I'll share this now, that we're sending the recording. With the recording, any recommendations that were made, we'll highlight those in that email. You are going to have access to all of Maina's contact information. Maina, you send out beautiful newsletters with tons of helpful information. Maina works directly in so many ways with the oils and with BodyTalk, all the things we've been talking about and more. So I definitely recommend you tune into that if you're not. I have a newsletter also that shares different information, and so you'll be kind of placed into the loop of that. So know that you'll have all of that information. We host through Active Exchange, we're hosting these connection events every other month, but every month we have something. So it's either a connection event like this with some empowering health material, or a book club that we do. And so those are offered in rotation if anyone is interested. And we also offer different sessions, which Maina does as well through integrative well-being. So Maina, is there anything that you wanted to mention today? Any offers or any things that you have going on that you wanted to share, or anything you want to say as we prepare to close?
No, I think you've mentioned them all. Yeah. And I would just say stay connected to, things that bring you healing, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all in this together. And I love getting sessions from Becca. And if you haven't had one yet, I highly recommend having a session with Becca, giving it a try, and all of the beautiful offerings. Her newsletter is amazing as well. So just plug yourself into healing and good vibes.
Yeah, huge. It's like I was just reflecting on this, and I'll say thank you. And truly, I feel the same. Mine sessions are out of this world, amazing, really incredible healing and well-being cultivated from your work. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I was just recently in a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and so much. It's like there are three things that we offer this thanks for that I want to do as we close, and it's like the lessons and the information, the learning. That is the piece right now that I want to offer that gratitude and appreciation for. There is the people that are practicing. So those people who are learning, each and every one of us here about how to be empowered, and are bringing that into practicing what we preach, doing it in our own lives. And that's it. Like our ripple can be right here. And people will ask, people will get curious. And that's enough. We don't have to go, broadcasting it. And if we have the information, then we can, right? So it's the practice, it's the information, acquiring that, and it's the community, right? The group of people that we surround ourselves with, that we can have these conversations with, that we can learn with and grow and try and experiment. And so I just want to give thanks and appreciation to each and every one of you here tuning in the recording. Maina, thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and gifts tonight. Beautiful.
And thank you guys for sharing your time with us this evening or on the recording. You could be anywhere, but you chose to be here. And so we are grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so with that, I'm going to close. If there are follow-up questions, please ask. Feel free to email us, Maina or myself, or both of us. And any comments, we would love to hear about your experience tonight. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you, Active Exchange.
Thank you. Thank you, Integrative Wellbeing. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.